Welcome to the Explainer, everyone. Let's just jump right in today because we're unpacking a really fascinating intersection of the law, literally where your property rights smash right into your religious freedoms. If you're the kind of person who loves clear-cut rules, knowing exactly where your rights begin and where they end, you're absolutely going to love the legal case we're looking at today. We're breaking down a highly specific scenario that answers a massive question about what you can and absolutely cannot do on your own property. Think about it. We generally just assume our private property is our own personal kingdom, right? My house, my rules. Yet, somehow, when it comes to organizing a gathering, we suddenly get all turned around about what actually requires a government permit and what is, frankly, none of the government's business. Like, do you need government permission to breathe in your own living room? Do you need a permit to invite a few friends over for dinner? We get so wrapped up in red tape that we kind of forget the most basic principles of property rights. Well, of course not. It's your house. You make the rules. Mostly, anyway. And that perfectly sets up the core premise of what we're analyzing today. Private premises generally mean private rules. But, the second you bring constitutional rights into the mix, people tend to overcomplicate the whole shebang. So let's look at how one specific group tried to navigate this, and how a high court actually had to step in to remind everyone of the basics. Section 1. The case of the unanswered letters. So, our story starts with a petitioner called the Maranatha Full Gospel Ministries. They had a really simple goal, but they had a classic bureaucratic brick wall. This comes from an Allahabad High Court ruling, specifically Writ C number 1097 of 2026, handled by Justices Atul Sridharan and Siddharth Nandan back on January 27, 2026. Basically, the petitioner wanted to hold a religious congregation of worship right inside their own private premises. And, wanting to do things totally by the book, they sent multiple representations, by hand, by post, to state authorities just asking for permission. And what happened? Crickets. Nothing. No action at all from the state. They were completely ignored, leaving them stuck in legal limbo over an event happening on their own property. Section 2. Understanding Article 25. To untangle this mess, the High Court couldn't just glance at property laws. They had to dig right into foundational constitutional law. And that brings us straight to Article 25. This is a fundamental right in the Constitution of India that guarantees citizens the freedom to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion. When the state finally got around to giving instructions to the court, they were actually crystal clear. They admitted there is zero prohibition on conducting a religious prayer meeting within private premises. Plus, they confirmed that equal protection under the law applies to all citizens, no discrimination allowed. The state basically said out loud that exercising your fundamental right under Article 25 doesn't need any kind of permission under the law, as long as it's happening inside your own private property. Section 3. Inside the fence versus outside the fence. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the judges drew a hard line in the sand based purely on physical property boundaries. It's a tale of two spaces, a private gathering, which happens strictly inside private premises, versus a public procession, which takes place out on public land or roads. During the actual hearing, the court point-blank asked the petitioner's counsel, hey, is there any procession going to be led on public land or a public road here? And the counsel categorically answered no. The prayer was going to be strictly limited to their private premises. And honestly, that single distinction was the absolute crux of the court's whole decision. Section 4. The real-world scenario. Okay, so all that legal theory is great, but how do you actually apply this if you want to host a private gathering at your place? It's wonderfully simple. Step 1, stay inside your private property, keep the event contained. Step 2, pray as per your convenience. And Step 3, enjoy your fundamental rights with zero state permission required. The court literally disposed of the writ petition by officially recognizing this right. You do not need to ask the state for a permission slip to exercise your Article 25 rights inside the boundaries of your own private real estate. It's an incredibly empowering legal clarification. Section 5. Common mistakes and exactly how to avoid them. All right, let's put our critical thinking hats on for a second. Let's do a quick cross-examination of the bad ideas and legal blunders people tend to make here, because the court did drop a massive caveat. Pitfall number 1 is waiting around for permission you literally don't need for a private event. We've well and truly covered that. But look at points 2, 3, and 4. What if your private event gets a bit too big? What if it spills over onto the public road or public property? The court made it very clear. If that happens, you absolutely must at least intimate the police. And on top of that, you have to get any required public permits. You can't just block a public street and claim, oh, it's a private gathering. The second you cross that fence line, the rules change entirely. Section 6. The state's ultimate duty. So, we've talked a bunch about what you and I have to do, but let's flip the script and look at the government's strict legal mandate in this scenario. The Allahabad High Court wrote this powerful line. It is a concomitant duty on the state to ensure that property, rights, and life of the petitioner are protected at all cost. The court was extremely clear that exactly how they protect you, the tactics, the police deployment, that's totally up to their discretion. But the actual duty to protect your life and your fundamental rights, yeah, that's not optional. It has to be done at all cost. By the way, if you're the kind of person who loves going straight to the primary sources, which I highly encourage for sure, you can scan the QR code to read the official unedited court document for yourself. It's number 2026 AHC 18364DB from January 2026. It's a really short, punchy, and fascinating read that totally outlines everything we've analyzed today.
The verdict? Key takeaways.
So the crucial point is, how do we actually boil all this legal precedent down into something easy to remember? Well, number 1, Article 25 fundamental rights protect your freedom to practice religion. Number 2, if you're doing this strictly inside your own private premises, absolutely zero permission is required from the state. Number 3, the second your event spills over onto public roads or property, you must notify the police and get the right public permits. And number 4, the state has a rock-solid, non-negotiable legal obligation to protect your rights, your property, and your life at all costs while you exercise these freedoms. Which leaves us with this final thought. Are you fully exercising your rights inside your own fence? And maybe more importantly, do you actually know exactly where that fence ends? Knowing the precise physical boundaries of your property is literally the exact same thing as knowing the boundaries of your legal rights. I really hope this explainer helped map those out for you clearly today. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me. Stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.